Drivers, you rock and we know it. I'm Angela Roach, and this is Behind the Wheel, powered by HireMaster. As the trucking industry continues to face a shortage of drivers, a high school in Western Maryland, Williamsport High School, is taking matters into its own hands with a new course called Introduction to Trucking as part of its vocational training. This falls in line with the federal government's program, the Safe Driver Apprenticeship Pilot Program, to allow 18 to 20-year-olds to drive commercial vehicles across state lines. The previous regulations only allowed drivers in that age range to drive within state lines, but as the students are learning, the real money in trucking is in over-the-road driving. According to Dave Hess, the transportation director at DOT Foods, he has no issues with younger drivers crossing state lines, saying, quote, "We're not going to put anybody on the road who can't handle the equipment and be safe. You got immature 45-year-old people, so it's really on the person, their skills, their understanding of the law." End quote. More schools are looking to pilot similar programs within their vocational training classes, which is a great sign to help combat the aging driver population, which has an average age of 46 for long-haul truck drivers. For now, and depending on how the governmental pilot program turns out, younger drivers will have to stick with interstate driving. To search for your next opportunity among the 85,000 plus active job postings, visit HireMaster.com. Last week, we had a clip from Dr. Mark Manera of Supply Chain Fitness giving tips which sweet treats to eat while on the road. For this week's health and fitness tip, we go back out to Dr. Mark Manera for another great tip.
Here are 4 ab exercises any truck driver can do out on the road.
Thank you for the great tip, Mark. You can find more tips from Mark on TikTok at Dr. Mark Manera. In the news this week, U.S. fuel prices have increased for the first time in 16 days. With midterm elections right around the corner, the rise of U.S. fuel prices poses a potential political threat on the current administration. Based on data released by the U.S. Energy Information Administration, the national average fuel price increased to $3.76 a gallon overnight due to limited fuel supplies and terminals reporting gasoline shortages, while oil companies achieved their highest profits to date. According to the Biden administration, oil companies are allegedly inappropriately charging too much for refined gasoline. Yet, oil companies respond with the counter-argument that the sudden increase in fuel prices allegedly derives from the current administration implementing unfavorable policies that will negatively affect the oil business. As the Biden administration pressures big oil companies on fuel prices, an attempt to seek potential solutions, such as expanding the emergency fuel reserves, is underway. However, no decision has been finalized. As the supply of diesel fuel continues to deteriorate, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem declared a state of emergency and signed an executive order exempting carriers from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's hours of service regulation on shipments made within state lines. The waiver is for 30 days, starting last Wednesday and running up to Thanksgiving week, and is intended to allow carriers to move diesel wherever and whenever it is needed throughout the state. With shortages reported throughout the state, mainly due to harvesting and winter preparation, the executive order, which exempts deliveries of diesel, gas, jet fuel, propane, ethanol, natural gasoline, diesel exhaust fluid, and anhydrous ammonia, hopes to address disparities in fuel allocation and provide needed fuel for vehicles, planes, and other modes of transportation, as well as heating as winter sets in. The order was explicit on reminding carriers not to allow fatigued drivers to make deliveries, stating, quote, "Nothing contained in this order requires or allows fatigued drivers to operate a motor vehicle. The driver who informs a carrier he/she needs immediate rest shall be given adequate rest before the driver is required to return to service." End quote. In this week's Weather Watch, the greater Lake Tahoe area in the state of Nevada has been issued a winter storm watch. Nevadians above an elevation of 5,500 feet have been warned of potential heavy snow, with accumulations of 3 to 5 inches. And Nevadians above an elevation of 7,000 feet are expected to receive 5 to 12 inches of snow. Local residents of the Sierra counties and the greater Lake Tahoe area have been advised of slippery road conditions. If you are a truck driver in the area, be on the lookout for high winds and hazardous conditions that could impact the morning and evening commutes. As a colder front approaches the Pacific Northwest, local residents are advised to expect cool, wet, and windy weather this week. If you're planning to travel across Washington and Oregon this week, check the road conditions by referring to the Washington and Oregon Department of Transportation websites. Have a winter's travel kit with you, which includes blankets, cell phone chargers, shovels, a working flashlight, gloves, and extra warm clothing. And that's going to do it for Behind the Wheel. I'm Angela Roach. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe on YouTube to catch each episode, and leave us a like and a comment. We'll see you next time on Behind the Wheel, powered by HireMaster.